No, keep them on.
Keep on.
What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Oh, I got a little bit of echo here, I think. But I got Matt here from Florida again. What's up, Matt?
Live from the beach, everybody. How we doing today?
How's the weather?
Oh, it's awesome. It's hot.
Alex not here today, obviously, but we got some things to talk about.
I'll pop in. We'll go about 15 minutes now. Let's pop off.
Listen, I give you credit by even doing this on the beach. I wouldn't even have the attention span to sit on the beach and do this.
I'm just doing it to show off. Like, hey, on the beach.
I mean, you showed me around before the show. It looks nice out there. A lot of people.
Yeah. Here,
Yeah.
we'll show the viewers the ocean here. How's that?
Look at that. Look at that.
That's beautiful. So
Yeah.
if you just want to leave this, put the big screen on, and this will be the show.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Just watch the ocean.
Hey, tell everybody where you're going tonight.
So, we're going to see Miami Marlins take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates, won 5 of their last 7 games. So we get to see some of their, I think, future All-Stars, and Key Brian Hayes and O'Neal Cruz. And they already got one guy on the All-Star team. What's
David Bednar.
Bernard, yeah. He's a pitcher. So that'd be cool to see. And, Miami Marlins got some players, too. Jesus Aguilar, he was brought up through the Cleveland organization. He played for the Scrappers, which Mike and I work for. And, I like that Jazz Chisholm, man. He's sick, too.
Yeah.
We'll just have to stick around and see.
Yeah, it should be fun. I mean, like I said, I texted you last night messing with you. Don't go there and jinx them now. Ooh, you got some company there.
Yeah, so we got some passing buyers.
Feel fire in your feet.
Yeah. Oh, it's all right, man.
Thank you.
Hey, man, this is the beach. You're going to get interaction out here.
Oh, Matt, let me flash this up for you. Matt, look at the screen.
Is that Badger Beach in Kingsland? Absolutely, DJ.
That's great.
Badger Beach. Yeah.
But
Badger
hey,
Beach has sea urchins and, sharks and stuff in it.
we got Lake Erie. That counts.
Lake Erie, but we don't.
There used to be Gerard Lake, but that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
But
we're rocking and rolling out here. We got I got an Istanbul restaurant back here. I was eating some of that the other day. We got a Greek restaurant down here. You ever have falafel?
did I ever have what?
Falafel.
I have
The
not.
sausage. Oh man, have you ever heard of it?
I have, but I've never had it.
Yeah, Dominic, be quiet back there. But
If I were you, I'd be sitting there with a beer right now.
huh?
I'd be sitting there with a beer right now if I were you.
No, I drink it all.
Yeah, but hey, have fun tonight at the game. We'll talk about it
Yeah,
later
it'll be
too. But
sweet. Sweet. Well, let's get in. Let's talk about some Penguins, man. What
yeah,
we
I got you on for these 10, 15 minutes or whatever. We got to talk about that because I'll talk about baseball after we get off too. There's not too much with that, but big news yesterday, Matt. Keep re-signing Kenny Malkin on that 4-year. I think it was.
Yep.
I got
We
the
had
number
him
put
with
up here.
we also recently re-signed Latane as well. So we got the good old boys reuniting. I know we talked about that we would like Malkin to leave, but it's all right. It's cool that he's going to stick around and he's going to retire as a Pittsburgh Penguin. And the fact that he's still out there battling is just makes this team, the chemistry is there. Just imagine if he would leave. guys would come in and have to start building more chemistry. Why do that when they're all the same? They're all going to retire at the same time. I bet you Letang, Crosby, and Malkin will all retire around that same period.
Yeah.
So maybe a season or two without.
I remember my stance being in the playoffs when there was some times Malkin played good in that series and sometimes he didn't. I remember kind of telling myself, like, if it comes down between keeping Letang and Malkin, I'd rather keep Letang because I think he's somewhat more important. But, I mean, I wasn't campaigning for Malkin to be gone, Matt, but it's good to have him back for those reasons that these guys, 4 Stanley Cups, they've won 3 of them. They've been deep playoff runs. They've been on early exits the last couple of years, so they've been through it all together. But, I mean, look at these guys they re-signed, Matt, and I'll have you know, it's kind of weird looking at these hockey contracts because they
signed a new goalie too, I believe.
They did sign a new goalie, but these contracts are that goalie, by the way, they only signed him for like $800,000. Like these contracts are small. I mean, they keep Sidney Crosby. He's got 3 years for $8.7 million. I think that was last year they gave him that. So they keep Malkin this year on 4 years, $6.1 million. Chris Letang comes back 6 years for $6.1 million. Jake Gensel, I mean, they got to re-sign him in another 2 years, but he has 2 years left for $6 million. And they bring back Brian Rust this year for 6 years for $5 million. And they also brought back Rickard Rakell, Matt. So they pretty much brought back the whole team together. I think that's.
They also brought back who? Yeah, Rickard Rakell.
Yeah.
Jeff Carter should be sticking around, I think. Hopefully. We'll see.
I think so, but I think it's, people were complaining at the end of the playoffs last year when they lost that series. They are getting older, and they are, Matt, but they started out good last year, and I think it's worth bringing it back one more time for another year or two because they had a lot of injuries in the middle part of the year down the stretch. And again, I told you this during the playoffs last year. If they would have had a better goalie, I think they win that series.
I think so, too. They got some guy with, what's his name again now? I saw it briefly.
The one we just signed, or?
Yeah, the goalie we just signed.
I just saw it somewhere. He's from Buffalo.
Yeah, I did see that. He was from Buffalo.
Takarskin's his last name.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right.
We'll see what happens with that, but I want to bring that part up because for nostalgic reasons, Matt, it's been tough for Pittsburgh because there's no more Heinz Field. I think we mentioned that yesterday. But now you still got the big 3 in hockey coming back. That's been together forever.
I didn't hear you very well. There's a helicopter.
Oh, okay. No,
What'd
I was just for nostalgic reasons. It's good because you got the big 3 coming back.
Yeah, big 3 is there once again.
So, I mean, their GM was able to work things out to bring these guys back on contracts they wanted. And Matt, how about Sidney Crosby though? Because there was rumors that Malkin wanted to test free agency, which he did, and there was rumors he was going to go other places. But
it's all right.
I guess we just got to deal with this while you're on.
Oh, my feet.
What's your name?
Carmen.
Carmen, I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Matt. Nice to meet you.
You too. No problem, man. It's hot out here. It's probably 103 degrees out here today, guys.
Matt at his finest.
Yeah. Say hello to the viewers. Say hello. I'm live on my show.
Hello. Oh, hi. I'm here taking a rest from the sun.
Oh, yeah. We need a rest from the sun. All right. We're baking out here today.
You're getting red there a little, Matt. You're good.
Oh, yeah. We're getting red. All right.
Yeah. I'm jealous.
Tell you something here. I'll tell you something about Florida. There's so many nice people down here.
There is.
Interact with new people. I would interact with 3 people today. People are always out, playing football, beach volleyball. We have a bunch of stuff down here. I almost joined in, but I'd probably embarrass myself. But
do it.
It's a lot of nice interactions down here. The restaurants are good. Different food, which is nice. To try something coming out of Ohio. We're used to wings and pizza. Now, I did eat pizza last night, but you go from eating wings and pizza to all this stuff, other different stuff.
See the screen?
Pizza is still the best down here. There's 5 pizza shops down here, but it's try different foods. I'm gonna try some branzino later. I've never even heard of that. You ever heard of that? It's a fish called branzino. I am a celebrity.
Matt's a celebrity everywhere he goes.
We're not quite in Miami. We're Hollywood Beach for about 40 minutes. about 40 minutes from Miami.
That's about where I was for spring break, around that area.
So, we can see the tip of South Beach right down here if we look all the way down to the end. So
yeah,
we're rocking and rolling out here. Whew.
Matt, you're a celebrity everywhere you go, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, everywhere I go.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah. But all right, let's keep going here. What's next?
All right, we talked Penguins here. How about you want to talk a little baseball while you're still on? We kind of brought it up.
We can talk some baseball.
I got some other things too. I'll get into while you get off. But
we got the Pirates, Miami down here. Pirates could take Game 3 tonight, so they would successfully win the series. If not, they can come back tomorrow and try and beat. It's a 4-game series down here, so we'll see what they can do.
They're going to at least split it. So.
Yeah, I think they could sweep them. So I think the Pirates can come out. O'Neal Cruz is unbelievable. This guy in a couple of years, and this is coming from a Cleveland Guardians fan. This guy in a couple of years is going to be really dangerous. I think he's already dangerous. We might see something spectacular tonight. I'm hoping for like an inside park home run or something. The dude can fly. So maybe we'll see something awesome.
Well, listen, I think with O'Neal Cruz, and you could be – I agree with you. I think he's going to be a future star, but I'm talking right now. He's going to go through some growing pains because even before he came up, he wasn't hitting that great. But when he does get a hold of one, Matt, it freaking travels. And it's hit hard. But his average isn't great right now. But there's people out there that knock him for his average. And you can knock people for different things in baseball because not too many people hit for average anymore. Some guys are low average and hit more for just, home runs and power. And, a guy like Brian Hayes, who only has like 3 home runs this year, but he's a good he's a good average hitter. So some guys have their own strengths, and that's O'Neal Cruz's strength is. And by the way, you see some of the stuff I send you defensively in the group chat, like the stuff he gets off. I know the one last night got overturned, but some of his plays he makes defensively are just insane, and some of the balls he throws from short to first are insane. I know we talked about that part, those plays he makes too, but he's going to go through his growing pains. He had a home run in the first game of the series, but he's struggled a little bit so far. But some other things he's done, man, it's been crazy. And I think Matt's frozen here, so I think we'll continue to talk a little bit of baseball here. There's actually 4 games going on right now. I think Seattle's playing Washington right now. They're up 5-1 in Washington in the 7th. Seattle's been playing pretty well. I think they're actually one of those other teams with Baltimore that's won. Baltimore won 9 in a row too. We'll get to that too. But I don't know if they lost. Let me see if they lost any, because I know over the weekend they won 8 in a row. But it's still at 8 because yesterday got postponed and they didn't play Monday. So they're still on a winning streak here, and it looks like it's still going to hold true here if they can get through 2 more innings, 2 and a third more innings here they got going. But Seattle's playing pretty well. Julio Rodriguez is up for MVP candidate, I think, and I think he's having a great year. He's going to be an all-star starter. So he's having a great year for Seattle. The Mets and the Braves, they started an important series over the last. The Braves are now on the heels of the Mets because the Mets they're up 5-1 in this game so far today. It's in the 6th. It's actually the 6th just ended. This is a big series here because I know we're getting to that part that we kept talking about early in the year that things are going to even themselves out around this time of year, around June, July, around the All-Star break. You can start judging teams, and the Braves, they played their way back into. They start out slow. They played their way back in this division. Mets are still playing okay, but Frankie Lindor's not playing as great as he's expected to be playing. So they split the first 2 games of the series. The Mets are out in front 5-0 on the top of the 6th. So we'll see if they can hold true in this game. It looks in their favor, but we'll see. Actually, a more close one going on compared to the first teams we're talking about here are the Brewers and the Twins. And in the 4th, it's tied 1-1. The Twins are not playing great, but they're playing better to keep ahead of the Cleveland Guardians in the AL Central. So I know the Guardians have been struggling a little bit. They had that doubleheader. Matt's trying to get back in here.
Sorry about that. Bad connection out here. The wind took a turn and it just.
I know. I was talking for like 2 minutes and you were just staring at me.
Yeah, but
I kind of moved into your division here because I'm talking about games that are going on right now. The Brewers are playing the Twins. The Twins are ahead of your team right now, so I kind of transitioned into that. You got anything to say about your team?
I mean, we fought off a little bit. The Yankees really took a toll on us, and then Detroit just came in, and I think the Yankees really beat us up, and and here comes Detroit in, and they're a fresh young team. I like the players they have. Baez, Miggy Cabrera is still rolling. What a great player! Did you see that play he made the other day.
Yeah,
I think it was yesterday, honestly. So that's pretty fantastic that he's still doing things like that at his age. But I mean, we got some things to learn. I'm looking forward to the nice break we're gonna have. So I hope we can get some stuff going. We got 3 All-Stars. We can talk about that a little bit. I mean, before I check off here.
Go ahead. You got Jimenez made the All-Star
guys.
team.
Yeah, I mean, the given was Emmanuel Clase was gonna make it. So a lot of people are like, "Man, Bieber got snubbed." You know, Bieber he didn't have the best start of the year.
He didn't.
So, but Clase was always on. I'm glad he got in. Then how about Andres Jimenez? Man, this dude came out of nowhere too. You know, he had a couple so years with the Mets. Now he comes here. Now he's an All-Star in Cleveland. So you gotta love that. And then I know we got one more, and I forget his name.
Ramirez, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jose Ramirez is in there.
He's a given to me.
Not starting, no. Not starting. He's a reserve. I think this is the first time he's not starting, which I think he still should have started. Who's starting third baseman?
I'm looking it up right now.
But when you're finding that, I mean, Jose has definitely had a bounce back year, comeback player of the year in my book. I mean, he's having another MVP-like season. Without him, we fall off. We fall off without Jose Ramirez.
Third base, Rafael Devers from the Red Sox, which isn't a bad
Rafael
choice.
Devers, he's all right. Like, I still think Jose beat him out.
I do too, but it's not like he lost. It's not like he got beat out by some scrub.
Yeah, I know. Rafael Devers can play, but I mean, Ramirez he's an all-star in my book. Which I mean, I know he made it, but he's a true all-star because without him, I mean, where this team would be.
Yeah.
Like I know we'd probably barely be keeping our head above the water, but Ramirez is the glue. Even if he's not having the best day, he's still out there getting the other guys going. You know.
Yeah.
So. But all right. I'm gonna sign off.
Getting out of here. I'm pretty jealous of you, Max. It looks like it's gonna storm here, so I'm actually pretty jealous that you're out in 100-degree weather.
Oh yeah. But all right, Mike. It was good coming on here for almost 20 minutes here. Go as far as you can. You know, it's all right if you wrap it up a little bit.
By the way, you got a Pirate shirt you can wear tonight or no?
No, I'm gonna wear my Big Ben shirt that I got the game.
That works.
So,
that works.
That works.
Maybe I'll see you on TV because the crowd's having maybe I'll see you.
Depends where we sit. We don't know where we're sitting yet. We're gonna go down there. We're just gonna buy tickets there.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
Marlins. So
maybe I'll see you on TV.
Maybe I'll be on there.
All right, Matt.
Around. All right. We'll see you everybody.
Enjoy the game.
I'll probably sneak on tomorrow too. So
okay.
All right, everybody. Well, have a good day. Hey, be sure to watch Power Hour coming up next on YSN Live.
All right, Matt.
All right, keep it going, Mike.
All right.
All right, bye.
All right, so thanks to Matt for joining in there for about 15 or close to 20 minutes already. That's pretty quick. But as we're talking about baseball, I think we're going to talk more about the All-Star stuff end of the week, probably start of the week. I know the Derby's Monday and then the All-Star game's Tuesday. So I'll maybe run through the lineup, the All-Star starters here and the rosters maybe, but we'll talk more about Derby stuff and who MVP front runners, all that stuff on, probably to start the next week. But I'm going to just look here. I saw an interesting list on MLB.com that the 10 hottest rookies right now in baseball. And I think, number one, I just talked about him before Matt rejoined, was Julio Rodriguez from the Mariners. Like I said, I think he should have been an all-star starter. I don't know if he for sure is yet. I was looking at it. I thought he was, but the list I saw, he's not a starter in the all-star game. But over the last month, he's hitting 300, an average of 300. So that's pretty good. And like I said, the Mariners have put themselves back into the conversation in that division there in the AL West. And they, like I said, they won 8 in a row, and they're winning right now 5-1. So obviously, number one in this list, Julio Rodriguez. That's not a bad guy to have too. And I think number two is an interesting one too, Spencer Strider from the Braves. And he's not a huge name that in the minors he was, but he's not a guy that was on the roster that stuck out to you to start the year. And I think he's another young guy, just like they had Max Fried the last couple of years. That the Braves are a team like Cleveland. And we always talk about Cleveland. They're bringing up all these young starters to that pitch pretty well and pretty much are the reason why Cleveland has stayed in the conversation for that division and, got in the playoffs and done some things in the last, 7-8 years is because they're starting pitching. Because we've talked about their hitting isn't always great. So I think that's kind of in the same boat the Braves are. I know they have a different type of lineup and they have a different type of market that they're in Atlanta, but Spencer Strider's had a good year this year, especially the good last month. He has over this past month, he has a 2.96 ERA with 45 Ks. against, with 6 walks. But so that's really good for his start too, and that's the reason why the Braves have gotten back into contention there in the National League East. Some other ones too. I mean, at number 4, you got Adley Rutschman from the Orioles, a catcher. I mean, that's pretty a given that he's on this list because he was their number 1 prospect. He was at the top draft pick that they had in the last couple of years. He's been a reason why they've caught. He started out slow when he first came up, but he's been a reason why that they've gone on this winning streak. The last night they extended it to 9, beating the Cubs. I believe they played the Cubs last night, who aren't great this year. But I was looking at the Orioles schedule. The teams that they played during this winning streak, albeit you got to still win these ones. 9 in a row is still hard to do no matter what your schedule looks like. But, like I said, playing the Cubs, Angels, who are still okay, but they're not, they've really fallen off since that's a good start they've had. Rangers, Alex team that he picked to be some type of a dark horse this year. They swept them too, and they took one from the Twins. That the Twins are a good team to take one from, but they're playing these teams that we kind of looked at the Orioles as the last couple of years that they're a team that you should be on your schedule, with the Angels and the Rangers and teams I just said they beat. But credit to them, they're bringing up these young guys. They're doing it the way that I think my team, the Pirates, are doing. Some other teams like small market teams that when the Astros first started winning World Series and getting deep playoff runs, that's what they did. They stunk for a couple of years and they brought up all these young guys. Then they started spending money. To this point, though, the Orioles have not really done that, but they're that stage where they're bringing up these young guys. They're playing well. They're getting these win streaks. Like I said, it's not against great opponents, but they're still finding ways to win these games. Let's face it, they've played themselves in a wild card contention here. And the team that's right in front of them. I'll kind of get off topic here because I just saw this as we were coming onto the show. That the team right in front of them in their division too, they're battling for 4th place. With the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that I thought could have had a chance to win a division this year because I wasn't sure how the Yankees would be. I didn't expect the Yankees to be this great this year after, the type of, I guess we'll say, disappointing season they had last year, especially pretty much with the same guys. So they found a way to get to where they're at now. But this division is so tough, and I thought the Blue Jays were one of the better teams in it. So they fired their manager today with Charlie Montoyo, and I think that's a surprise because not really surprise, but I guess not on his part, but a surprise the way his team played this year because, like I said, because of those expectations that I had, some other teams had. They went out and spent some money this year and got some key guys that are slipping my mind right now. But 46-42, and the Orioles are only 2 games behind them for, if the Orioles pass and Toronto's in last place, and you don't expect that from a really good young core that they have that, I know Matt likes a lot that, we were talking about these divisions to start the year. The reason why he had them up at the top, the reason why I had them up at the top. But I knew their pitching isn't that great. That's probably one thing that a reason why they've kind of been out slow because I like them getting Kevin Gausman in the offseason from the Giants. He had a good year for them last year. But when you're judging Baltimore off what they've been the last couple of years, and now they're at 500 at 44-44, and they're right in striking distance with Toronto in the wildcard game and in this division here, that's not a good look on the Blue Jays' part because I had them up there with, like I said, with the Yankees and Red Sox this year. Really, this division, when you're talking about the Orioles now at 44-44 in last place, just at 500, that's a pretty strong division because if they start playing well and these teams start playing good, you're gonna have all 5 of these teams beating up against each other. And I think you're in a spot this year where it's a really good chance that we're gonna get all 3 wild cards since they added the extra wild card spot this year. You're gonna have all 3 of them probably from this division. And that shows how strong it is compared to the 2 other divisions in the American League that are not great at all. And the really other good one in baseball is probably the National League West. I mean, the National League Central stinks. Like I said, my team is 12 games under 500. They're in 3rd place. And the National League East has kind of built themselves into, over the last couple of weeks, top heavy because the Phillies have played better. They're 46-42. Marlins are kind of slipping, but you still have the Mets up there who are still leading division, but they're not out in front. That big cushion they had to start for a good part for the first 2 months of the year. And the Braves are on their way back. But back to the list here, Shane Baz from the Rays. That's a guy that I don't really like talking about because it's a guy the Pirates had and they traded in that Chris Archer trade. But, he's a pitcher that's had a 3.65 ERA in his recent starts. I think that is his actual ERA on the year. But he's a guy I didn't really like giving up in that trade. And he's somebody that's really been pitching well for Tampa. Going down the list here, George Kirby from the Mariners. He's a guy I was watching the other day, and I didn't realize how great of a year he was having. I think he's going to be an all-star for the American League from the Mariners. I think I saw that earlier. But then down the list, I got to mention my guy because I don't think he's a guy I really didn't expect. I know he's been playing pretty well, but he's a guy I didn't expect to be on this list. I expect a guy like, I know I was talking about O'Neal Cruz's numbers being a little bit down since he's been up, but he still has tremendous upside. But a guy that I was happy to see on this list was Yuri De Los Santos from my Pirates. That, the Pirates aren't, I know 5-7, they're still not in contention this year, but that's and they've had like 4 or 5 games that gotten destroyed this year. But, they're getting a little interesting because, like I keep talking about the last few weeks or the last month or so, that they're bringing up these young guys that I want to see up and not waste time anymore with these veterans that aren't really having anything to offer that aren't really too much part of the future. Some babies, most aren't. But Yuri De Los Santos is part of a bullpen I think is not great for Pittsburgh, but it's a bullpen that's kind of gotten pushed aside that people think isn't great. Isn't at least recognizable. I mean, I'm not going to say great, but because it's not great, but it's better than advertised. And Yuri De Los Santos has saved. He's had 3 saves, and I think he's only been up for a month, so he's had 3 saves and 4 appearances in that situation with 3 strikeouts over 10 1/3 innings over the last month. So his numbers look really good. He's a guy that had upside that coming up in the minors. I actually forget where he was traded from. Most of these guys I know over the last couple of years where they came from because they've had so many trades, and I've really started to get into the minor leagues this last couple of years because of that, because that's where the future of this team is. And the future of a lot of other teams too. I like to try to follow some other players too in other organizations that have really good upside. But he's a guy that coming up through the system I thought could be a good arm for however they want to use him, and he's proved that so far. But I thought that was a good list to look at because we talk about all the time in baseball and some other sports too. These leagues are getting really younger, especially in baseball. And I think this is a good list to look at the 10 hottest rookies in baseball. So that's out of the way there. I want to like I said, we'll talk more about the All-Star stuff end of the week, start of next week. So we'll get into that too. But some other news here, like I said, Charlie Montoya got released. Matt brought up Shane Bieber, and I want to talk about that too because a lot of people, like Matt said, think he got snubbed. I don't know if you call it a snub. He's all-star type of pitcher. Best in the league type of pitcher, but I don't think this year when you're talking about all-star that it's been that great. But yesterday he threw his first complete game of 2022 against the Chicago White Sox. I think it was in the first game. Yeah, the first game. So they won the first game. So he went because it was doubleheader actually against Chicago. But he threw his first complete game of 2022, and I think that's worth mentioning because you don't see this too often. The benchmark for pitchers, unfortunately, is about 100 pitches per game, and whatever point that is, third time through the lineup, whatever type, 5-6 innings. If they're throwing 100 pitches to that point, they pretty much take them out nowadays. I don't like seeing that because I miss seeing this type of stuff with Shane Bieber going complete game, but that doesn't really happen too much anymore. And a pitcher like him, who is, talent-wise one of the better ones in the league, and you could see him go a whole game like that, and you could see them win. That's pretty worth talking about because, like I said, it doesn't happen too much anymore. So, Indians got that 4-1 over the White Sox yesterday in that first game. They lost the second one, so they didn't gain any ground in the division. I know Chicago's behind them, but they didn't gain too much ground. But yeah, that's worth talking about with Shane Bieber. That was a good start for him yesterday and a good one from the Indians. But the scores are still the same, like right now in the games going on right now. The Mets 5-1 now over the Braves. The Braves picked up a run there, but it's still in the bottom of the 6th. Same score in Seattle and Washington. Things just getting a little interesting here with the Brewers and the Twins. It's still 1-1, but in the bottom of the 4th, the Twins have 2 guys on at first and second, 2 outs. Basic, maybe do some damage there. There's one swing of the bat there. The 2 teams that Cleveland actually played prior to this series with the White Sox, with Kansas City and Detroit. Detroit's up 1-0 in the bottom of the first there. Things are still getting underway. So a bunch of other games too going on tonight. This is what we pretty much got right now with baseball going on right now because there's not too much going on. But I'm going to switch things over to basketball here because I think there's, some things that in free agency that have kind of snuck up on us, with some other free agent signings. I want to talk about with Boston too. I'm going to talk a little about some other teams too. Mention some stuff about the Utah Jazz wanting to at least listen to trade offers on Donovan Mitchell. haven't said they're going to trade him, or he hasn't requested any trades. They're just going to listen to things after that trade with Rudy Gobert. Maybe they're looking to go in a different direction. But starting off with the Boston Celtics, I remember at the end of the NBA Finals, and me and Alec were talking about, where does Boston go from here in terms of additions? Do they make any big splashes? I think they really did make a good signing there with Malcolm Brogdon. I know this happened a few days ago. I was on vacation last week to not mention this stuff, but I remember us talking. That was one thing we thought that the Boston Celtics needed to address was getting a point guard. And I think Marcus Smart did a good job last year filling in after Dennis Schroeder was there for a little bit, but that wasn't the fit there. Malcolm Brogdon, last time he was really playing, he had some injuries in these last 3 years in Indiana, but he was a part of some good teams. I know it was before the Milwaukee Bucks won the title in 2021, but he was there for 4 years when they were building up, getting some good playoff experiences there. So he's been a part of big playoff environments and big, winning basketball, big time moments. So he didn't really have, I know this first year with Indiana, they were good. I think they were a playoff team, but the last 2 years have been down years for them, which, by the way, I think the Pacers are a team that isn't going to go through a long rebuild, but that's going to have to be seen. But I think with Boston, that was a good pickup for them to get Malcolm Brogdon. And then they also bring in Danilo Gallinari, who was traded in that DeJounte Murray trade to the Spurs, who quickly bought him out. And I think that was a good pickup for them too. So, and pretty much those two moves in Brogdon and Gallinari, those are two moves that I was talking about too, Alec was talking about as well, that are really going to make the Celtics good. And I think now if you're looking at the Eastern Conference with the downfall of the Brooklyn Nets, with Miami, we'll see what type of moves they make if they want to try to go out and get Donovan Mitchell, if they want to go out and try and get Kevin Durant. I'll even throw Kyrie in there if they want to try to make a move like that. I don't know, this stuff about him I'll talk about in a minute, but it's pretty, Boston Celtics just getting the NBA Finals, making these two moves that I'm talking about. They are the team to beat right now in the East. And it's going to be fun to see who fills out the rest of the conference too, with teams coming up, teams going down. That's part of it every year. But I think the Celtics put themselves in a position to, if they stay healthy, incorporate these guys well enough, which I think under Ime Udoka that they will do that. They're a team that's going to be interesting to maybe get back there and win it next year. We'll see. But that's something I wanted to mention there. Now, like I said, with the Nets, there was things I saw. I don't remember who reported it, but there was some source from ESPN that possibly maybe Kyrie would stay in Brooklyn even if Kevin Durant's not there, which is a shakeup because Kyrie never really requested a trade, but he's exploring options too as well. And I think his only real option right now is to either go to LA if LA is able to get a trade out with Brooklyn, to swap with Russell Westbrook and Kyrie Irving. But we'll see if that happens. So I think his really real option is to end up with LA, get back with LeBron and see what things go with there, or just stay in Brooklyn, whether Kevin Durant's there or not. And I think it's, you're in the part where, I would bet Kevin Durant's out of there because if you request that too, Brooklyn Nets are so miserable last year with pretty much all the stuff with Kyrie Irving. They come into the year as title favorite. They lose James Harden after all this stuff with Kyrie. Pretty much since Kyrie's been there, before, Kevin Durant was healthy, before they got James Harden. Pretty much since he's been there, it's been a nightmare. And they haven't really got anywhere to where they wanted to go with any of that stuff there. And I think bringing Kyrie back, even if Kevin Durant's gone, I don't know what that does for Brooklyn because they're not going to be a title contender, which is Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. Maybe it could be a good team, solid team, middle of the pack team in the East, but they're not going to be what they wanted to be when they got these guys in there. So we'll see with that part of it too. But like I said, I wanted to talk about the Donovan Mitchell stuff because the Utah Jazz are rumored to be at least listening to offers. I mean, we hear that a lot. But that pretty much means at some point, to me at least, that he's going to get traded because that's pretty much a process of starting a trade process for somebody. You say you're not going to trade him, then you pretty much move on from other pieces around him with that big blockbuster deal with Minnesota to send Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves. But that's pretty much the start of it. When you're a team like Utah, who, I know had a good run in 21 against, but they lost in the conference finals the second round to the Clippers. I mean, they had a good run there, but that's pretty much been their ceiling is your second round exits. And I think that's when you've had like 3 or 4 or 5 years when they've had that exit, it's time to move on. It's just not working out. And now you're in a position where they're going to start, at least like I'm saying, at least to my standards, that they're going to start this trade process for Donovan Mitchell, because after you lose Rudy Gobert, you still have Mike Conley there, but they're rumored to be shopping him as well. And both these guys are actually, that's the reason why I wanted to bring it up, because both these guys are actually rumored to maybe be on the move to teams like, I think there was a list of, Miami's and the Knicks are looking at Donovan Mitchell. I haven't really heard too much about destinations for Mike Conley, but the Cavs are also on that list as well. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I don't know if that's a great fit. It's not the likely one, because like I said, for Donovan Mitchell, it's pretty much the New York Knicks who are the front runner, or at least in the top 2 or 3 front runner wise. And, that could be good for them too, because they just got Jalen Brunson, but who are they going to give up as well? If I'm sitting there as the Utah Jazz, I probably want a player like RJ Barrett or Julius Randle or somebody like that. But if I'm the Knicks, I'd rather go Julius Randle than RJ Barrett, because I know him coming in as number 3 pick in that draft with Zion Williamson a couple years ago. He's gotten better every year. And I know being a top 3 pick, you want to come in right away, make an impact. But, 2 years ago, like not this past year, but the year previously, they were a playoff team. And they had a good year that year compared to what they have been in the last couple of years. So I wouldn't want to give up RJ Barrett. I think he's a guy that I want to pair together with a Jalen Brunson and with a Donovan Mitchell. So that's a guy, if I'm trying to get Donovan Mitchell, that's a guy I wouldn't want to move. But we'll see, because there's draft picks that they can give up to as well. But if I'm looking at the standpoint from the Cavs, Mike Conley or Donovan Mitchell, is it a fit? Because, that's the biggest thing with any team really, but in a team that you're in the position as the Cavs are, does it fit what they're trying to do? Does it fit the young core that they have right now? And obviously, if you're able to give up I saw a mock trade here. If you're able to give up something like Colin Sexton, which I don't want to get rid of, but if you can get a guy like this, Donovan Mitchell, if it fits well, you have to at least look at it. And I think if you can give up a guy like Colin Sexton, like I'm looking at this mock trade here from fansided.com, if you're able to go Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen at maybe some picks or whatever, because you have to match salaries here, and those 2 salaries would match what Donovan Mitchell has, does it make them a contender? And I think if you're bringing in a guy like Donovan Mitchell, it does make them a contender. But when you're going to compare him to, this is my opinion, when you're comparing him or trying to put him with a guy like Darius Garland, who that came out last week. I don't know if they talked about it last week on the show, but while I was on vacation, that came out that Darius Garland signed that big 5-year, $100-something million extension, max extension, which I'd like to have, because I think he proved himself last year to be the guy for the Cavs, at least from the backcourt standpoint. But from offensive standpoint, Mitchell, Garland would be lethal together. There's no doubt about that, because they both pretty much play similar in terms of 3-point shooting, beating guys to the basket, dribble handoffs and stuff like that, running the show. So that'd be a good backcourt, really good backcourt, probably one of the best ones in the league. But you're putting that in a position where I think Colin Sexton's game is a little bit different than Donovan Mitchell's, but it's still the position where, Garland and Sexton or Donovan Mitchell and Garland. I think most people would probably take the Donovan Mitchell matchup there, or duo there, but we'll see. I don't know if that makes it, when you're adding, like I said, when you're adding a guy like him, it's going to make you better than having Sexton, because I think Donovan Mitchell is more superstar type of caliber than Colin Sexton is. I think Colin Sexton is an all-star, really good player. I like him. Like I said, I want them to keep him. I think he's got started this process for the Cavs, but Donovan Mitchell, at his ceiling and where he can go is a lot higher, I think, than Colin Sexton. So from that standpoint, yes, I would do it. And then all the guys around them too. So playing with them with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and behind them, the guys that they brought in with, through the draft or through free agency the last couple weeks, with bringing back Rubio and bringing in, Robin Lopez, who could be, the center, the backup center that they signed that they needed to get, and some of the other young guys they got too, with the Baji coming in, the guy they just drafted. And if they can find time for Evan Mobley's brother, Isaiah Mobley, there's a lot of interesting pieces. And I think, I don't know if I said on the show, but I was talking about when Kevin Durant first requested that trade, that I'm not saying the Cavs are going to get Kevin Durant, but I'm saying that they had the assets, if they wanted to get him, that they could try to do it. They have the draft picks, they have some money, they have a lot of young pieces that they could try to move. And I think they can do that if they want to get a guy like Donovan Mitchell. But that's something that's gonna, at least with Donovan Mitchell, not even just with the Cavs, just anybody in general, with the Knicks, with the Heat, with the I think forget some of the other teams on that list, but like the Cavs too, because they were on that list, where he ends up going and where, how far along this process takes the Jazz. If they trade him right away, if they want to listen to every offer they have, I think it's worth looking at with the Kevin Durant stuff too, because it's you're not hearing too much about where he's going to end up and what teams are wanting for him, or really from what the Nets want for him. So, that Rudy Gobert trade goes down, you see the package they get, then you go back to the Kevin Durant thing. Well, if they got that for Rudy Gobert, they should get this and that for Kevin Durant. So I think it's worth talking about the rumors that go on with this Donovan Mitchell trade and, where he ends up at. But that's all I got for today. Like I said at the start of the show, it's going to be a quick one today, but I think Alex should be back on tomorrow. Matt said when he was on earlier that he's going to be popping in and out. That's fun having him from the beach, but that's going to do it for me today. This is Mike on the Casual Sports Podcast. Be sure to tune in to Power Hour next, but that's going to do it for today. We'll see you guys.